could be hurtful, that their lingering traumas and bullshit that they refuse to work through hurts you, is hurt in of itself. Because it's like you're aware of the neglect and they are not. It's really helped me look at my time, my space, my health as a value. It has a value, a monetary value if you're talking about the cost of therapy. And it helps to take them off the pedestal because naturally as kids, our parents are on the pedestal. And by thinking of it this way, you're taking them and putting them on the plane of everyone else. And when you look at them as just everyone else, they're really people will never change. Not even to save the relationship with your children.
Was ever else helping my for people to smart things to have me going by and treating a lot of the day helping my mom. She'll be 69 this year. She's still significantly younger than people upon this making decisions about age and medicine and removal, so that's a terrifying thought, but anyway. Having her pictures to see her Google password or whatever to update and do one by screenshot as they use it on Facebook, this information Facebook, this information struggling, find things that I've seen me, it's just there. And I even have my books in for a second because they screenshotted like several, like an entire article from our local paper about SNAP benefits being cut, only to the very next one being, if you're upset about your SNAP being cut, you don't blame Democrats for wanting to give health care to illegal aliens. And I just started crying. It's like, you have to understand, these people raised me. They would do anything, seek the generosity to the poor. It's required to align yourself with this administration. There is no other word, but really, there's no statistic I can send, no article I can send, they can tell them they were concerned, it's so funny to me. They held it back, and I was like, you know what? If I had ever had ended poorly, I'm never gonna change their mind on anything. They have decades and decades of white Christian nationalists feeding them theology and decades of Fox News feeding them propaganda. They're goners. But they're my parents. And it's hard. But I just kept going about updating her stuff, and then I was working on her printer, and I had to pull it up, and there's more information memes. I was trying to find a picture to print, and it was breakdown of Trump's spending and Obama's spending, and it's like all of these inflated, taken out of context, budget spending for a man that's been out of office for almost a decade, as if that somehow justifies building a ballroom, not giving people their SNAP benefits. And then there's like one, it's like a misinformation meme. It would take 10 seconds to Google these things. That's the craziest part. Of Hillary Clinton quoting about Trump would be a great person.
What makes this story so emotional is that it is not just about an argument over a candidate. It is about family, trust, morality, and the painful realization that someone you love may be willing to defend things you believe are deeply wrong. For years, many people tried to avoid political conversations with MAGA parents, siblings, grandparents, and in-laws just to keep the peace. They changed the subject. They stayed quiet at dinner. They ignored the Facebook posts. They swallowed the comments because they wanted to keep the relationship alive. But there comes a point when silence starts to feel like permission. When someone defends violent immigration raids, ignores due process, dehumanizes immigrants, or treats entire groups of people as disposable, that stops being a normal political disagreement. That becomes a values issue. And that is why so many people are now setting boundaries. They are not cutting off family because of one vote. They are stepping back because the beliefs being defended have real consequences for real people. Families are being separated. Communities are being targeted. Fear is being normalized. And for many children of MAGA parents, the question becomes, how do you keep pretending everything is okay when the people you love keep defending harm?
President in 19 talk to you about. I don't know. I want to vent to you about how I'm worried about food insecurity for my patients and people in our community. I want to talk to you about how I'm worried about
Yo, how's it going, brother?
children.
I'm good. I'm good.
Current events, and I take everything. When you were
Honestly, I want to get into anime and vanguards, but the problem is I don't really have enough characters. Like, cause I'm so far behind in that game, it's gonna be very hard to catch up.
it's hard. It's so hard, and I know there's so many people that put so much work and think, oh, my commentators.
My mother is a MAGA boomer. About 2 years ago, I was arguing with her about January 6th and how terrible it was. I brought up how those people built gallows on the sidewalk to unalive Mike Pence. She looks me in my face and says, "Where'd you see that?" And I was like, "On every legacy news media outlet. Like it happened." 100% honestly told me she had never seen that. So I pulled out my phone and I just Googled it. And of course, a gajillion photos of
Cause the funny thing is, I got Alucard with his familiar, so I can somewhat catch up.
my parents haven't had cable for years.
But the problem is, I need a lot of I need buff units. I need damage. I need more damage units.
The source of media is online. We all know these
I need the other money unit.
media from right-wing authoritarian content creators, not from legacy outlets that actually still have a big enough reach where they must maintain some level of journalistic integrity. She was 100% telling me the truth that she had no idea that they built gallows to get rid of Mike Pence on January 6th because he certified the election results in 2020. Now, this is a prime example of how MAGA is a cult. I know that word is very triggering, but when I say it, I'm saying it with a clinical definition, typically the bite model that was created by Dr. Stephen Hassan, who's one of the world's foremost cult experts and a former cult member himself. He was in the Moonies in the early 70s. Bite model is the control of behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions. Any combination of those four things being controlled by a group, you're dealing with a cult group or a high control group. My mother did not know that they built gallows for Mike Pence. She was completely unaware because the information that she takes in is controlled. The way that they do this is by demonizing any sort of news outlet media that disagrees or has a different perspective. You used to have to physically isolate people to get this level of information control. Now you don't. Now you just demonize all the people that disagree with you, especially for Christians like my mom. You tell them that this is an attack from the enemy. Bad about Donald Trump, you automatically build in soft-stopping technique into the brains of your loyal followers. Thank you for your attention, Ms. Bender.
Another major part of this transcript is the role of misinformation. Many people are realizing that their parents or relatives are not just casually supporting Trump, they are living inside an information bubble that protects him from accountability. That is why facts are important. You can send articles, videos, or documents
But yeah, as you can see, yeah, I just got her. I just evolved her.
claiming Democrat. If Trump does something corrupt, they say all politicians are corrupt. If his administration cuts programs, they blame him. If people suffer under his policies, they blame the media or report it. This is how political loyalty becomes dangerous. It trains people to reject anything that challenges them. It teaches them that every mainstream source is fake, every critic is evil, and every uncomfortable fact is part of a conspiracy. Once that happens, information is no longer about truth. It
Huh?
becomes about
The
protecting
hell was that?
being veiled. And that is why many families are grieving people who are still alive. They remember who their parents used to be. They remember the kindness, generosity, faith, honesty, outright involvement.
Oh, Astro.
right and wrong. But now those same people are sharing this information that that kind of loss is real. It may not be a physical one, but emotionally it can feel like losing someone to a movie. I don't know if you know.
This is gonna be one of those. I lost my parents to MAGA things. I don't plan for how I was gonna do this, and I was like, oh my gosh. So there was a violent ICE arrest made,
Hold on, now that I think about it,
and
what did she do
yeah, it
again?
was on there. It went viral, and it was heartbreaking. An actual arrest happened on the road that I used to live on, about 10 minutes from my house, on a country highway. And I sent this to my mom because my parents are triple Trumpers, and throughout this administration, I've tried to send things that are very unbiased, things that seem extremely black and white. So I sent this video to her and I said, hey, did you see that this happened? And her response was, oh my gosh, that is horrific. We need to talk to immigration lawyers, named off a couple of people that we know. And in the text she said, people need to be protesting all across this country. We need peaceful protests. I said, great, Mom, actually, there's this huge protest that's happening multiple times. It's called No Pigs. And she says, oh, well, I heard about them, and that is, it's full of BS. I said, oh, how so? She said, well, Kamala Harris was not newly elected as the Democratic nominee last year. So, and Trump was newly elected. So, we should smack some more monarchy. And my response was, oh, well, you're not part of the Democratic Party, so why do you care? And she says, well, corruption in any form is just so dangerous. So, well, Mom, that's bad news for you about the Trump administration. It's about the ideas. Politics is about the ideas. There's always going to be corruption in politics. And it just kind of stuck with me because, so things every year, and nothing will shift her. Nothing will shift her from supporting the current administration. No, really. Or she will come right up to the line of just changing her position. Voice and support for the woman who was violently arrested and held under false pretenses, but not to the point of decrying the administration. And the thing is, I have a very small social footprint, right? Like, my political activism is basically posting things on my Instagram stories. I made a spreadsheet for myself tracking the Trump administration, and I think I have like 50 to 75 entries that haven't been updated since the summer. Okay, there's so much more data that I can add to this. Under corruption, bribery, tearing down the entire east wing of the White House without involving Congress or the National Park System, without any elections. The Trump family has grown $1 billion in wealth since Trump took office. Like, there is so much data, and it does not matter. I could share this spreadsheet with my parents.
Many people were raised with a passion for mercy, equality, caring for strangers. They were taught to love their neighbor, feed the hungry, protect the vulnerable, treat people with dignity. But then they watched blind relatives commit policies that do the opposite. They watched them excuse cruelty for injustice. They watched them mock people who needed assistance. They watched them ignore racism, dismiss suffering, and act like human dignity depends on immigration status, race, religion, or religion. That is why this hurts so deeply. It is not just that people disagree on tax rates or foreign policy. It is that some families are watching faith get turned into a political weapon. Instead of asking who needs help, the conversation becomes who deserves punishment. Instead of asking how do we protect vulnerable people, it becomes how do we defend Trump? That is the MAGA contradiction. It claims to defend Christianity while often supporting behavior that looks nothing like Christ. It talks about family values while breaking families apart. It claims to love freedom while defending authoritarian behavior. It claims to protect children while supporting policies that harm children. And for people watching their own families fall into that contradiction, the pain is not abstract. It is personal. Because at some point, love does not mean allowing someone to keep hurting you. Sometimes love means telling the truth, setting a boundary, and refusing to normalize cruelty just because it comes from family.
At this year's Google I/O, we witnessed a fundamental shift from UI. We're introducing a
Comes from family.
and they would find a way to acknowledge the problem and somehow put the blame on the Democratic Party. Tonight I posted something about Zohran Mamdani's win, and her response was, he's a communist, he supports Hamas, and, this clip didn't say anything about supporting the Constitution. And I said, well, Mom, Trump doesn't support the Constitution either. She got upset with me. I didn't say anything about Trump. And literally, as I make this TikTok, she's DMing me links from far-right rabbit hole news sources on Instagram. And it just breaks my heart because I was homeschooled. I was homeschooled to think critically by her, by my parents. I was put in rhetoric classes, logic classes. I did speech and debate for 2 years. I learned how to research and cite my sources. I learned how to evaluate sources for their biases. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's so ironic that because I was homeschooled by my conservative parents, I have now pulled away from conservatism, and especially from MAGA territory. And I frankly don't know how to deal with this because who does? Who does know how to deal with this? I think there's a very snarky, very smug part of myself that knows that in 5 to 10 years, when Trump is dead, we are all going to know far more than we've ever wanted to know about his corruption, his scandals, the things that were actually happening behind closed doors. We're going to learn about the puppets that are currently controlling him. And, so many people on this platform have said, so many people on this platform have said that someday all of the people who are MAGA are going to disavow that they ever supported Trump. And that day is coming, right? That day is coming. The time has come, y'all. The time has come where I am cutting off my MAGA parents because I can't do this anymore. After years of trying to avoid this conversation with them because I know they are MAGA. And that was the only way we could have a relationship is if we didn't talk about it. Well, I'm done. I'm done. Even when I'm still, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. She had a fucking room on top of me. We were arguing about race and how we're violently tearing families apart, detaining important people without due process. And she said, I don't give a fuck about brown people. And I don't give a fuck about slur. And I said to her, this is literally what is unaccepted. The way you're talking, this is what is unaccepted. She had the fucking goal to say to me, well, your dad is German. And she said, and you are too. And I said, but my kids are going to want to be. And I know that we're.
in second place, loyalty. That is why this clip hits so hard. It shows the emotional politics inside real homes. Behind every viral argument, every cut-off parent, every blocked number, and every broken relationship, there is usually a long history of someone trying to hold the family together. People do not usually walk away overnight. They try, they explain, they send articles, they avoid arguments. They hope one video, one scripture, one tragedy, or one personal story will finally open someone's eyes. But then the same pattern repeats. A poor choice gets defended. A racist comment gets excused. A violent raid gets justified. A conspiracy theory gets shared. A Trump scandal gets minimized. And eventually, the person trying to keep the peace realizes that the relationship is costing them too much emotion. That is the first major point here. Boundaries are not always punishment. Sometimes boundaries are survival. When someone's beliefs constantly attack your values, your peace, your community, or people you care about, distance can become necessary. You can love a parent and still refuse to accept hatred. You can miss your family and still protect your mental health. You can grieve the relationship and still know that stepping back is the right choice. The second point is misinformation is not harmless. People sometimes treat Facebook memes, far-right influencers, and conspiracy content like innocent opinions. But misinformation changes how people see reality. It can make someone ignore suffering right in front of them. It can make them believe every fact is fake unless it protects Trump. It can make them more loyal to a politician than to their own child sitting across from them. And that is where modern politics becomes especially dangerous. It does not just ask people to support Trump. It often asks them to distrust everyone else, the media, the courts, educators, experts, immigrants, Democrats, protesters, and sometimes even their own family members. Once a movement convinces people that every outside voice is the enemy, it becomes almost impossible to reach them with normal conversation. The third point is about faith.
Motto is synonymous with modern inspired by the sun and high noon. An iconic dial reimagined in many films. Fluid jewelry silhouettes, radiant and light. The museum bangle vibe.
Dive into the ultimate collection of questionable decisions. Start with quiet little county. At a 12-hour session, you swear it was only one. Now it's a sprawling kingdom. Time to deal with those pesky neighbors. Surely this time it will go different. Economic crisis, raise the taxes. Allies uncertain, five.
About faith. Many people in these families were raised with Christianity, but now they are watching that faith get filtered through partisan politics. And that creates a painful question. If your politics make you less compassionate, less truthful, less merciful, less concerned about the suffering of others, then what exactly is being protected? Because values are not proven by what people say they believe. Values are proven by what they are willing to defend. If someone defends cruelty toward immigrants, dismisses huge insecurity, laughs at people losing health care, or excuses leaders who lie and attack democratic norms, then people around them are allowed to ask whether this is still about faith or whether faith has been used as a shield in politics. The fourth point is accountability. MAGA supporters often say they unfairly, but actions and beliefs have consequences. If someone publicly supports policies that harm vulnerable people, their family members are allowed to respond. If someone treats cruelty as patriotism, others are allowed to step away. If someone chooses loyalty to Trump over basic empathy, then they should not be shot when relationships begin to break. And this is the part MAGA does not want to face. People are not walking away because they are too sensitive. They are walking away because they are exhausted. Exhausted from arguing with misinformation. Exhausted from hearing hateful comments. Exhausted from watching family members defend policies that hurt real people. Exhausted from trying to explain empathy to people who once taught them empathy. That is the tragedy of this moment. Trump did not just divide voters. MAGA politics has divided homes, churches, marriages, friendships,
magical pink ball of death, aka Kirby, aka aka Shorter Kid Boo.
Think that I would block from Xenoverse 3. And a few things that I'm speculating on that has yet to be confirmed, but would be interesting nonetheless. And of course, we're going to talk about the trailer as a whole. So in this trailer, we're introduced to a new character as well as the new upload of Xenoverse 3, which I looked at the stream before recording that, so I didn't realize that they actually were going to actually be Brett, like BRETT. Yeah, that will still stand in a second. Maybe it's like a translation thing, like how they translated yogurt to food or some shit like that. Like it still sounds like Brett still sounds like Brett. Hear me out for a second, closer to me. Now from the name alone, like I said earlier, that already was. Does that imply exactly? Well, to answer that, look at another character. And the granddaughter of Goku, as well as the daughter of Son Goku. And what does Pan mean in English? Red. What I'm saying is that this red character could very well be a direct descendant of Goku. I mean, it would be hard to imagine, considering it's only been 200 years since the end of Dragon Ball, so he would have to descend from someone. Whether he's descended from Goten or Pan, I'm pretty sure it's going to be left out of the open, but it will lean more towards Pan. That being said, Red does kind of have a mix of GT Goten and Goku, which I guess it's all in the family, so. Another interesting thing about Red is the uniform that he wears before he becomes all Great Saiyan. But the thing about it is that it appears to be a great style. Now, one piece of lore that a lot of people don't really know about Dragon Ball, at least not most people, is what takes place after Dragon Ball Z. And no, I'm not talking about GT. I'm talking about Toriyama's vision of after Z. One of those being that Krillin and Tien Shinhan both end up inheriting the Turtle and the Brain schools. And a lot of people end up Krillin and Tien end up gaining a bunch of new students dedicated to martial arts, which leads to the future that we see today. Think about it, Master Roshi didn't take a lot of students. And we already see Tenshinhan and Super already acquiring his own dojo and training people. So now, at Krillin eventually inheriting the Turtle school, the human race got busted in the age 1000. I'm getting it here. That I find it really interesting that potential descendant would end up learning in the school that once rivaled the Turtle school. It's actually a really fun thing about it. Fun fact, did you know that in this game, Gohan would eventually write a book that would teach people how to use ki? Fun stuff. Anyway, back to the show.
Don't understand why you would try to teach normal people that specifically, but hey, go ahead. Because that's low key kind of weird. I mean, not everybody's gonna be incredibly strong like everybody else. Because even if you do teach humans how to use ki, they're not gonna be just as strong as like people who's been training for like way longer.
Elias could now join the hero party. He waved goodbye and explained that everything had been arranged with the help of the royal family. Even though Elias had no magic at all, he still managed to keep up somehow. He was so shocked by the news he almost pooped his diaper. He couldn't believe he was going to join a hero party tasked with defeating the Demon Lord. At that time, Elias didn't understand that even without magic, he had a strange connection with the sword. He didn't know how powerful it really was.
Wait, what? I got this? Wait a minute, I got roll on him? Where did I do that?
After defeating several monsters, they noticed there were still way too many left. A single wyvern wasn't that scary, but this place was packed with monsters. Even S-rank parties had trouble here. Seeing that the sword St. Thomas and Sage Isabella were worn out, Elias warned the hero Mateo that the enemy was too strong. Mateo snapped back, saying he already knew and didn't need to be told. He cursed and ordered everyone to retreat. Afterward, Mateo pulled Elias aside and asked if he knew what his role in the party was. Elias thought he was just another teammate, but Mateo was harsh. He said Elias was useless and didn't help at all that day. He gave 2 reasons why Elias was a burden. The first reason was that Elias lied. He kept saying they should follow a strange light on the path that no one else could see. Elias tried to explain that he really could see the light, and whenever they followed it, they always stayed safe. But Mateo didn't believe him. He thought it was just dumb luck. The second reason was that Elias couldn't use the magic sword. Wind swords could be activated naturally or by using special methods, but all magic swords needed a match with the user. Elias had that match, but he hadn't awakened the sword's power yet. Still, Elias didn't think he was a burden. He always did his best and supported the team, even without using the sword. But Mateo silenced him and said it didn't have to be him in the party. After that, Elias went into the inn and dropped his tired body onto the bed. He didn't know what to do next. Ever since he lost his parents, it had always been just him and his master. He once believed that, thanks to his master's help, he had finally found teammates he could trust. But after what happened, he wished he had never gotten involved. He remembered his master's advice that having one person to trust was enough. Elias cried. He really enjoyed going on adventures with the hero party. But now that they had kicked him out, he decided to just become a regular adventurer. A few days later, he went to the adventurer's
Who is
inn and was
this?
greeted by the receptionist, Aaron. Elias was surprised she knew who he was. Aaron knew that he was a part of the hero party. Elias told her he had already been kicked out, but she stayed cheerful. She understood that he was switching to adventuring. She claimed it was turning misfortune into opportunities. Her honest and positive attitude made Elias feel a bit better. With Elias registered as an F-rank adventurer, Aaron gave him a beginner-friendly quest to explore a newly found lake deep inside the forest. Later in the forest, which was an hour away from the Empyrean Kingdom, Elias walked through the woods and noticed how beautiful everything looked. He thought back to his days with the hero party. Back then, he did everything for Mateo and the others, but now he would do things for himself and enjoy the journey. He soon spotted a group of goblins and remembered the receptionist's warning. Even weak monsters could be dangerous if they appear at the wrong time. He quietly hid, trying to avoid a fight. While hiding, he saw a strange light, the same light that had often helped him find a safe path before. He followed it and finally arrived at the newly discovered lake. As he thought about where to begin his investigation, he suddenly heard footsteps and became alarmed. It was not just one, but 2. A monster suddenly appeared, chasing an elf girl. His eyes grew wide when he saw what it was, a Hargle water frog. It was even stronger than a wyvern. He didn't know why such a monster was here, but that didn't matter. He had to save the girl. He ran in front of the elf to protect her, then jumped to avoid the distracted monster's attack. The monster wasn't very fast, so he managed to land a solid hit, but its skin was thick and hard. The monster was about to grab him, so he closed his eyes, thinking he was done for. Suddenly, several blasts of wind magic struck the monster, giving him enough time to move back. When he landed, he looked to the side and saw the elf. She had saved him using her wind/magic. He realized they could win by working together. He thanked her and told her that he planned to fight in front while she would support him with magic. But before they could start their plan, the monster looked at them and then dove under the water. The elf decided to draw it out using her magic. She sent sharp blades of wind into the lake. When the monster rose to the surface, Elias quickly jumped in to attack, but the creature reacted fast. He dodged, but its counterattack smashed a tree. Seeing that made him realize how dangerous the monster really was. If that hit had landed, he might have died. He moved closer to get the monster's attention, hoping it would focus on him. As he dodged its attacks, the elf kept hitting it with more wind magic, waiting for the right moment to strike. After taking several hits from the elf, the monster lost focus on its target. Elias saw a chance and attacked. He landed a clean stab on the monster's head, but his sword got stuck. The monster swung its head, causing Elias to lose his balance and fall to the ground. The Hargle water croc launched another attack, but Elias dodged just in time. His right arm got injured. He wasn't sure if he could keep fighting with only one arm, but if he did nothing, the girl would get hurt too. Then he heard a small voice asking for help. He looked at the elf and asked if she had spoken, but her confused face made him realize the voice wasn't hers. He stood up, now certain he hadn't imagined it. He grabbed his sword and said he would help the voice. He asked what to do next. The voice told him to use her power. Suddenly, water surrounded his sword. Elias was shocked by the change, but when the voice said he could use this power to defeat the Hargle water croc, he became serious. The moment the monster rose,
Like, I was playing Vanguards, but I decided to switch to this for a little bit.
the monster dropped dead. The elf girl
I switched to this for a little bit, but I'm gonna go back to Vanguards.
stood there. He tried to understand if he had really been the one who defeated the monster and used the magic sword. The The spirit, now free, revealed her.
Now that I think about it, I don't think I have a full One Piece team, do I? What's my last One Piece character then? No, I don't. I don't think I have a full One Piece team. No, I could just use a buffer. Where is? Because I don't need. Not everybody needs to be. Oh, what's the name?
Elias introduced himself, and the elf gave her name Emma Larkin. The spirit smiled and told them to call her Undine. Undine floated around.
Now I think about it. What do you use for her?
She then brought up the idea of forming a contract with him. Elias began to panic inside. He didn't understand why a powerful spirit would want to make a contract with someone like him. In fact, he wasn't even sure what a contract really meant in this case. Undine seemed to notice his hesitation and asked if he didn't want to. Elias quickly tried to explain that it wasn't what he meant. Undine took that as a yes and asked for his hand.
And also, I don't know what I'm doing, which is why I'm not on Vanguards. Like, I have no clue what I should be doing first.
Then, just like that, she disappeared. Elias felt the whole contract happened too fast, and he still didn't understand what was going on. He turned to Emma and asked if she was okay. Emma quietly said she was
Also, what is the what's the name you're supposed to be using for this?
Elias stood there completely confused. He asked if she had been talking about him. After looking at him for a while, Emma told the truth. Someone had asked her to find a human who could see spirits. She spread her arms and asked if he could see the color of the tiny spirits around her. He said it was light blue, but he didn't know those strange lights were actually spirits. Emma was surprised to find out he could see them, but didn't know what they were.
Alright, that's enough for now.
Spirits were very rare. Among humans, there were so few that you could count them on one hand. Now Elias understood why most people couldn't see them. Still, he didn't think he was special. He had no magic power at all, and his sword was just an ordinary one. The power Emma saw earlier had come from Unai. Emma knew that people who could see spirits usually had some kind of blessing, so she some doubts. But the fact that he could make a contract with a powerful spirit was amazing. She asked if he could come with her. Since Elias didn't have anything important to do at the moment, he agreed, but he said he needed to do something. He visited the church and the Adventurers Guild. After buying a few things, he went back to Emma. She smiled at him and told him to just call her by her name since they would be traveling together as adventurers. Their first plan was to find a place to stay for the night, but before they could leave, they were stopped by the heroes' party. It was Mateo's first time.
Excuse me.
After Emma and Mateo introduced themselves to each other, Mateo looked at Elias and asked if Emma was traveling with him. When Emma said yes, Mateo invited her to join their group instead. They said they were looking for strong members and claimed that traveling with them would be more important than staying with someone weak or timid. Emma responded by bowing her head and saying she only wanted to travel with them. Mateo didn't like that. He told her it wasn't a smart choice to go with someone like Elias. Emma thanked him for his advice and said she believed Elias was stronger than he seemed. Mateo got angry and said she would regret her decision. Elias thanked Emma, but she said there was no need. Then she asked him why he was upset earlier. Elias shared his story. He met Mateo through his master in the royal family. Later, the sword saint named Thomas and the sage named Isabella also joined their group. Elias was excited to go on adventures with them. But since he couldn't go with them, the others got stronger and were fight with Elias. As the sword constantly kept falling in line. As they reached deeper parts of the dungeon, they became more. Elias became more converted and stronger. Often because of this, in the end, they were both equal. Elias admitted he was converted, but he was surprised when he saw him shaving and persuaded him. He stepped closer and told him that he was actually strong. Elias said he could manage to make him certain but Emma explained that he had always been strong. If he wasn't, he would have been defeated long ago, either by the crocodile or some other monster. She pointed out how he could read the
Oh
situation.
no! Wait a minute! I can't do this.
He was also able to think about where his teammates were and lead the enemy.
Wait, why is the Z plus? Why is the Z plus still a Z plus?
Even while in danger was something only truly strong people could do. She said Elias didn't see his worth because the so-called hero party made him feel weak. She encouraged him to be confident because he was already strong. Her words touched him. After thanking her, Elias decided it was time to start playing his own street with them. After some time, they ran into a group of gangsters. Elias, though, was working. thanks to Undine, the spirit called her. When Undine explained that her power didn't come only from her, she said no one could control spirit power that had from the beginning. When asked if Elias was born, Undine was surprised that she couldn't see the spirit. Undine then explained that when a spirit comes to dragons, only that person can fully see them, unless someone else has a special spirit-led ability. Elias asked if there was a way for Emma to see Undine, even just for a short time. So Undine showed herself for a bit so Emma could see her. While the two spent time together in the background, Elias started to wonder why he could see both spirits and tiny figures. Even though he had no magic powers, Undine guessed that it might be because of the magic sword. The sword had the power to eliminate spirits and transform them into someone who could see them. For some reason, the sword matched her. It was able to be able to use it.
Now that I think about it, where do I even get that from?
They stood in the middle of a stone pillar, and within a few seconds, they were transported to a beautiful place, the Elven Kingdom. Emma pointed to her house in the distance, saying that it was located up ahead. As they walked through the town, the people happily greeted Emma, calling her their lady. Finally, they arrived at her house, but when Elias stepped inside, he was stunned as it wasn't a regular house. It looked more like a palace. He tried to ask Emma about it, but before he could, her mother appeared. Her name was Marl Larkin. She welcomed Emma back and asked who Elias was. Emma introduced him, and then her father came down the stairs. After greeting Elias, he introduced himself as Michael Larkin, the king of the country. This news shocked Elias deeply as he finally understood the good. Then he asked when she was a princess. Emma quickly stepped closer, and embarrassed, told him to stop using the ribbons. He agreed, saying it would feel strange if he suddenly changed the way he spoke. He asked about their relationship, but before she could tease too much, Michael told his wife to stop, and it was making Elias happy. Michael then leaned in and quietly asked Elias what his real relationship with Emma was. Elias couldn't believe he was really the king of the queen. Emma pulled Elias closer and told her parents that Elias' sword was only 3 inches long. What she meant was that he was using a magic sword that matched his power. Suddenly, a woman appeared, noticing that Emma had already arrived. The 3 royal elves then respectfully bowed to the woman, which surprised Elias. This woman was Titania, one of the most divine beings in the elf nation. Elias politely greeted her and felt something gently stir behind his chest. Titania saw right away that he was the chosen one. She could also tell that he had already made a contract with Lady Undine. Titania knew this because she and Elias were the same family. This only happened when people who were closest spirits met each other. Undine then asked Elias if Titania was there. When he called out her name, the king looked around, trying to find Undine. Elias asked her to show herself to everyone, and she did. It had been a long time since Undine and Titania last saw each other, so they greeted one another warmly. Titania said she had met Undine a long time ago when she went on adventures with someone who had a contract with Lady Undine.
What you think you're doing?
That there was someone like it asked where they
You
were.
big hooligan.
Explained half person had passed away about 100 years ago. When she noticed Elias staring at her, Titania realized he was curious about her age, but she kept that a secret. Emma looked happy after completing her mission, but Elias felt sad. He realized he had misunderstood the situation. He had hoped Emma would stay as friends with him, but now he felt that he was foolish. Seeing the look on his face, Emma panicked and explained that although Lady Emma had given her the mission of finding him, she also had her own reasons. She shyly admitted that she wanted a girl. As royalty, she had never had a girl before. That was why going on adventures with Elias made her so happy. Her journey meant a lot to her, even if she wasn't sure he would believe it. Elias did believe her. When she thanked him, he told her there was no need to be wrong. Now that everything was clear to her, Titania forgot the real reason she had called him.
Hey, what you doing?
Something only he could do. She wanted him to save the world. Right now, high-ranking spirits were sealed away by the demons. Undine was one of them. Elias was left confused since Undine recently helped her fight the crocodile. Undine explained that when Elias first met her, she had been sealed too, but because they drove away the creature guarding her seal, the water crocodile, Undine was able to lend Elias some of her power temporarily. Still, she couldn't break the seal on her own. Spirits and angels were natural enemies of demons. In a few years, demons were expected to become more active. When that happened, they would go after the sealed high-ranking spirits first. They needed to be rescued before it would be too late. Only someone chosen by the spirits, someone loved by them, could do it. Some demons could only be defeated by someone who knew spirit magic. Saving the spirits would indirectly save the world. Titania truly believed this. Elias glared at his magic sword and thought that saving the world was such a huge thing to ask. He wondered if he could do it. Emma could see him conflicted. Titania didn't expect Elias to agree right away. She also told him that there was another sealed spirit nearby. Michael shared they had tried everything. They hadn't been able to free it. Marl pleaded to Elias to go there. Elias wasn't sure how he could possibly save the world, but he still asked where the spirit was and invited him to try.
The hell is that taste?
Sealed inside a cave. But there were also monsters around, so Emma reminded Elias to be careful. She noticed that he was walking stiffly, like a robot, and asked him what was wrong. Elias felt nervous. He had been thinking about what was ahead, and understand how someone like him could possibly save the world. It made him feel overwhelmed to the point of giving him stomach aches. Emma told him not to worry about saving the world right now. She said he should just focus on saving the spirit. At that moment, he was there for Spirit, who was the elves and Undine's friend, not for the whole world. Thinking that everything depended on him was just too much, she advised him to let go of that pressure. All they needed to do now was help the spirit who was sealed. Elias understood.
With Walmart's back to school must-haves, even their locker can be as big as their vibe.
Walmart? You know it. Wait, they've got butter?
Because what do you think you're doing?
Okay, team, so this YouTube ad just talk about Omnisend and email and SMS platform for e-commerce. Show that you can page, segment audiences, and build forums all inside one simple interface. Also, you can mention the award-winning support, and also you can mention that people like Chase Diamond and Ezra Firestone use it. Basically, I think that's an ad right there.
Elias understood that she was right. He needed to focus on what really mattered. He didn't have to make it complicated. He was there because he cared about his friends. So he looked at Emma and said they should keep going. The two soon came across goblins and fought them. The goblins were like chopped vegetables flying around Emma. She quickly got rid of them using her magic and received praise from Elias. The place they were in was
Jesus Christ. You will not be over here. Get lost.
The power of their strikes was so strong. They applied its methods. And last again, also strike left crazy in the air. Their fighters were soft then, Master Dragon Leonardo's mood had shifted. The air felt heavier around them, and his cold stare made her nervous. Even though she was scared, Emma didn't stay silent. He told Leonardo that even if she hadn't known Elias for long, she believed he was a friend. Leonardo stepped forward and suddenly dropped to his knees. The authorities had so hard to support him. He said he was smart, already convicted him, just wanted to stop Elias from moving. And then Elias made the block. Emma already understood him. He had noticed how Leonardo had made Elias almost like a son. The first thing Leonardo told him was there. The other thought he had a fight. Emma was smart. His problem was this. He really did seem to be very nice. Then Leonardo sat down beside her and he shared life. Elias was what he lost his feelings. For that Leonardo had been careful and raised him like a whole child. He looked at Elias crying. That was also the reason why Elias was so hard. More than anything,
How many of these do I need? You know,